Welcome to the Multifamily Management Excellence podcast. Are you interested in learning from multifamily experts and how they achieved success? Then you have come to the right place. Your host, Mike Ballard, interviews industry experts to share their stories and advice to achieving success in the multifamily industry. Our goal is to provide you with resources and tools to increase profitability and achieve success on your own multifamily journey.
Welcome, everybody, to the Multifamily Management Excellence podcast. My name is Mike Ballard. I'm a partner in Ascent Multifamily Accounting, and I'm excited to have Alex Madsen here today. Alex is from the Salt Lake City area. He has a relatively new management company, but he's been in the business for years and years. And he's going to tell us more about his company, Lift Residential. And Alex, tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into the business, how long you've been doing real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you so much for having me on. This is an honor. I'm a big fan of everything that you guys are doing. So yeah, a little background on me. I started in property management back in 2010 as a leasing agent, as well. I was going to Utah Valley University. I started managing the apartment complex that I was living in, and then through various roles, kind of climbed the ladder and kind of bounced around from company to company for a couple of years. Worked for a company called Rockworth Companies as a regional manager here in Salt Lake, and then went over to Alliance for 3 or 4 years. Alliance Residential, who eventually got sold to Greystar. But most recently, I was the VP at a company called Redstone Residential. They do primarily student housing, but their multifamily side is growing exponentially. And so I kind of oversaw the regional managers there, and yeah, helped a lot with the day-to-day operations and et cetera, et cetera. And then
what was your title there?
So I was VP of operations. It was a great company. I really appreciated all the contacts, all the people that I met there. Grant Collard, who's the CEO, is honestly one of the smartest people in our industry, if not just people that I know. Learned so many things from him. Same with Jake Jarman, the president. Great company, and it was really hard to leave. But I used to work with Steve Broadbent and Chaz Johnson, who now are the owners of Thrive Development. And they reached out to me, and they have about 3,000 units in various phases of development.
Oh, wow.
And instead of, outsourcing all of that management, they decided that they wanted to keep it in-house and reached out to me, and we decided to create Lift Residential. They already have a property management company to manage some of their office and medical buildings that they have. But as they're bringing on all these multifamily assets, they wanted to bring on somebody who has a little bit more residential background. So,
before starting Lift, how many years did you have from the leasing agent all the way up until being a?
Yeah, great question. Started in 2010 as a leasing agent. Did that actually only for a couple months, and then manager for several years, regional manager for several years after that, then on up. So since 2010, I've been in the multifamily world. Yeah.
And Lift started officially what day?
Actually, it's been a year. So we started back in May of 2022.
So 12 years working for other folks. And then talk about, if you're willing to, talk a little bit about, the deal that you made with your partners to be involved.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was, like I said, they came to the realization that they had so much opportunity, or so many properties that they were going to have to go out and find third-party management. And they were looking at what that amount would be that they'd be paying in management fees, and they had the idea to bring it in house, and they reached out to me just to kind of first of all, I kind of talked through the idea, and I kind of pitched the idea of let's definitely do it. Let me come in and manage these assets, because I had experience hiring property managers, even hiring regional managers and training them. Had a lot of experience in multifamily housing, a lot of experience in student housing, and like you said, a lot of experience making money for other people, and so it just made sense to have it. It was very amicable, where they had so much in the pipeline, I had so much experience, and so it was a good partnership, good marriage, where it's mutually beneficial. But it's been awesome for me personally, because I've worked with some great companies, but there's always processes or different procedures that are kind of forced upon from the corporate side on down, that I didn't necessarily agree with, whether it be the amount that we can pay to community managers, to different policies and procedures. That it's been really liberating and exciting for me to kind of create my own company culture, my own
Because you're the boss.
way of doing things.
I mean, the buck
Yeah.
stops with you. And they were willing to give you a little bit of ownership to make the deal happen, right? That was your demands is.
Yeah, let me be a partner in it. And that was honestly the thing that really sold them on the idea, me on the idea, because they wanted somebody who had skin in the game. They wanted somebody who, like you said, the buck stops with that person, but it's got to hurt if we're not making money. And so again, very mutually beneficial. But it's been great so far. We've got 2 properties that have officially come online now, and then we're still working through the rest of the 3,000 units that are in development. And it's been great, because I've been they've had me help in the process of naming the properties, to what the clubhouse design should look like, all things that development companies usually don't engage property management companies early on in the process and ask us, would this work for an on-site team? And so sometimes they'll design these beautiful assets and beautiful community buildings, but they're not very functional for the long-term management of the asset. So it's been great for me, great for them, I hope.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been good so far.
It's working. So that's exciting. And along the way, right, you pick up tidbits from every company you probably worked at. And and you now can basically decide the culture, like you said, which is an awesome feeling. And I think there's so many talented people in property management that want that opportunity, and we're going to help them say, look at Alex, you could do this too. So that's great. So when you're thinking about, this business, and you've got 2 in the pipeline, and they're pretty big, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, they are
going, and what's the typical size of the property that you do? And talk about the states or the cities you're in.
Sure. So the first project that we had come online is it's a built for rent townhome deal. And so they knew going into building the asset that they were going to rent all of them out. So it's 100 units. It's up in Heber, Utah, which is close to Park City, for those who are not familiar with Utah. Very luxury, very high end. The rents are very high.
For example, what's?
Yeah, for example, they're about 2. So we only have 3 bedrooms up to 5. The average rent is about $2,700, but our 5 bedrooms are going for north of $4,000. And so for this area, it's very expensive, but they're beautiful, they're nice, and leasing is going great. It's a great asset. And then we're also bringing on a property in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and that one's about 355 units. And that's, again, another really great dynamic market where there's need for good housing. It's kind of like Park City, where it kind of caters to a higher end type of lifestyle. Yeah. And and so there's not a lot of, I wouldn't say affordable housing, because it's not affordable housing. I would say housing that's affordable for the everyday person.
The
And so
workforce,
that's kind of,
all that
yeah,
sometimes.
yeah, exactly. And that one's going great. We've got our really solid property manager there, at that asset. Same with Heber. And honestly, that's the biggest thing that's helped me be successful so far at Lyft is the people that I've been able to find and hire have just been great. They really love the area that they're in, love the asset, and yeah, things are going really well so far with these
So
two assets.
what are the next couple of properties coming online?
Yeah, so we've got another one here in Salt Lake that's coming online at the end of the year, and that one's 264 units. It's a mid-rise building, but it's fully amenitized. I'm pretty excited about that one. That one's called the Citizen. And then I've got signed PMAs on all the other ones, but I don't know if my partners want to share.
That's fine. Just scope. You're doing a lot of bigger projects from.
Yeah, so typically, yeah, north of 100 units, up to, we've got a 500 unit deal in Montana. We've got several actual projects in Montana going on, and they're all in that range of north of 250 units up to 500.
Wow.
They're currently working on some even bigger ones, which is what I prefer.
Great. And it is. It's easier to get good quality staff if you got a big property and pay for quality people.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what's interesting, you talked about something that I think is really important in our business. It's just the people. I mean, number one, them finding you, right, that had the right talent.
Yeah.
We work with a lot of developers and owners of properties that want to start their own management company, but they don't do an incentive like they've done with you to give you part ownership.
Sure. Yeah.
Your free reign. And then it oftentimes, if you don't have the right person in place or the right few people in place, it doesn't work to be self-managing. I mean, do you think they're happy about the decision to do self-management?
I definitely think so. Like I was saying, there's a lot of value that's being added earlier on in the process of development, that developers and ownership groups are a little bit hesitant or gun shy to engage a property management company too early on, because they don't want to get charged those huge consulting fees or anything like that. And so that's a lot of the value that I'm adding to Thrive Development is them having access to somebody who has managed the assets like this in the past, where developers are amazingly smart and dynamic and know how to get things done, but they don't know what it takes to manage these assets for the next 30 years.
Exactly. And you grew up through the ranks, right? Starting at the bottom, leasing agents, working your way up. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So where do you think you're going to be in 5 years?
That's a solid question. My hope is that, so like I said, we've got these signed contracts with Thrive. My hope is that we can start bringing on more third-party clients, and start to grow. I've got a 5-year goal to get us to 10,000 units that we're managing. So that's I want our book of business to double the size of what Thrive is bringing on, because I feel like as you get bigger, like you were saying, you can get higher quality employees that can help you with the processes and procedures. A lot of my goal is to bring a lot of things in-house, like the marketing piece, which is a huge part of multifamily leasing, and everything that multifamily is that marketing piece. And it's a piece that a lot of management companies and a lot of ownership groups kind of fumble, where it's they either are using outdated processes, or putting an ad in a newspaper, or using billboards, whatever it may be, and just really not fully leveraging that digital marketing piece, that's vital to leasing. So sorry, it's kind of a long tangent, but I do want to bring those kind of services in-house. We've partnered with some great companies so far, like Ascent. The marketing company that we're using is a company called Group 8 Marketing. They've been super helpful and beneficial. We're working with Conservice, which is the utility company that's super helpful.
A lot with them, yeah.
Yeah, and so my goal, hopefully, in the next 5 years, is to maybe not bring everything in house, because I am a big believer in, how do I say this eloquently? Multifamily management is not a complicated business, but we as operators a lot of times make it very complicated with either too many processes or systems that don't speak to each other, or just not keeping your focus on NOI, keeping your focus where it should be. The value of the property, because that's the end of the day, that's why we have jobs as operators, is to get investors a good return. And so I liked partnering with companies that help streamline processes to then free up my people on site to focus on the tenant relations, pushing rents, doing the things that add the most value to the assets. And so that's why I've really loved working with you guys so far, is it's just taking a piece off my plate. And so I can focus on, finding the best managers and really giving them what they need. So again, another tangent, but to answer your question, in 5 years, we're hoping to be at that 10,000 units. We're hoping to have some of the pieces in-house to then better give a better full service, full services to our clients, and really, maximize value for our clients across the board.
So what's been fun from our point of view is we work with a myriad of different clients. We worked with a couple women in Texas, and they set a goal similar to yours. We want to get to, and their goal first was 5,000 units, and they ended up blowing past that. And in 5 years, they got up to 13,000 units.
Wow.
And they started with us. They hired us before they had a property, and we worked with them, and they, and we got invited to their annual awards events and that type of thing. And we talked about their goals, and we were part of their team. And it was always fun to watch these kind of companies that have what I call this pleasant ambition and big drive to be successful. And that sounds like you're cut from the same cloth. Can you tell us a little bit about what technologies have you employed that maybe not everybody's familiar with, but you really like, that have helped your business?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a vital piece of, like I was saying, simplifying things for your teams, and making sure that the focus is on what's important, is that technology piece. So we use Entrata. It's the platform that we've decided to go with, and the reason I like it the most is the front end side is very user friendly. So leasing agents on up to the managers, very helpful. It walks you through every process that you need to do. It keeps your leads at the top of your plate on your dashboard. It's been very great. I've worked with a lot of the different software systems like Yardi, and several others. But the reason why I like Entrata the most is, like I said, it's user friendly for the on-site team first. It's very on-site team focused, and to me, that's what a software system should be: is helping your day-to-day team members really focus on your residents and your people. So I really appreciate that. Another thing that we use quite a bit is CoStar. I feel like it's the most robust tool that we have in our industry. And so for anything from pulling market reports or market surveys to kind of prospecting for new clients. It's a great tool that we've used. And something that we're trying to implement a little bit more is the AI piece. So we've started talking to a couple different companies on AI leasing, and then also kind of streamlining other processes and procedures. It's early on. Still trying to figure out that piece, but
so the great thing about where you're at is Salt Lake is one of the emerging tech corridors of the country.
yeah,
I've seen Adobe and Google and many other major tech companies relocate there, and so you have access to a lot of smart people. Okay, so what tips would you give to somebody who's just starting out, maybe 3 or 5 years in the business, and they're wanting to grow?
Yeah, I think that the main thing for me, when I get asked this question, is no matter what area you're in, no matter what your long-term ambitions or goals are, if you can become the expert in your area, everything from what's coming online to what the average price per square foot is, to what are just the day-to-day operations of your local market. If you become the expert, it's a much easier to you take that next step, and it's easy for you to be recognized by people above you, or
did you have something
other
like that
management
happen
companies
in your career, where you early on there was some little niche that you were specialty in and you were kind of an expert in that they reached out?
I appreciate you asking that, because I'm pretty proud of it, actually. When I was at Crestwood, when I first started out, it's BYU housing, which is pretty difficult because it's now changed, but back a couple years ago, BYU students could only live in a very specific geographical area, and there was an honor code that they had to live by, and it was kind of up to the landlords to enforce it. And there was an agreement that you had with the school as the landlord, and that you had to maintain certain standards, and it was pretty difficult as far as just general landlording goes. But I was able to, in the course of my time being there, I was able to hire some really good people underneath me who helped me build a very fun, engaged community that we did little things like, there was 400 students that lived there, and me and one of my assistants, we would do things like handwritten Valentine's cards to each one of the tenants, and try to do something specific to just connect with people, and it worked so well that we had 75% renewal rate that first year.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and it was at a time where they weren't doing year-long contracts in student housing, but we were able to the next year have even higher occupancy and retention, even during the summer months, than any one of our competitors. So, and a big reason why is I did what I was just telling you, that I tried to become the expert in the BYU market and really understand every competitor, what they're doing, and how they're treating people, and be different. Treat my people the right way, and do the little things that really builds a community. For that reason, to make it a place where people want to live, because going that extra mile, to me, it paid huge dividend, and the value of that asset increased by not an order of magnitude, but close, right? Like it changed the value of that property by millions of dollars, because we were able to have such high renewal rate and such good retention over the summer months. And it was because we put the effort in to build a community and be kind of the experts in the market. And so we had a huge wait list and things like that, where if you put in that extra effort to really dig in and be the expert in your market and help build a fun community and a good community of where the management company and your maintenance team is very responsive and very engaged in making it a good community. It's amazing where your career can take you. And it's been a good example and kind of like kind of a shocking thing as I look back to see how quickly my career took off because of doing little things like that.
Yeah, that's great. So, our industry right now is in a little malaise, I'd say. We had rents that skyrocketed, and now they've leveled off, if not decreased a little bit, and financing's getting tougher for developers.
Yeah.
What do you see kind of on the horizon for the next 12 months from the economy and how that affects the multifamily industry?
It's a great question. It's something that we're talking here internally about every day. We've had several different loans that we anticipated a certain interest rate, and it has now doubled, or if not doubled, even quadrupled or tripled since the inception of these projects. And so it's been something that is on our minds every day. And when I first came on, we were hoping to start kind of an acquisitions team as well, and we've had to put a pause on that because it's impossible to get financing to make these deals pencil right now. I do foresee it lessening up or loosening up a little bit over the next 12 months. My hope is that if in every aspect of real estate, in every facet or of the cycle, there's ways to make money, and there's ways to adapt yourself to be prepared for the next cycle. And so I do think this is a good time right now in the cycle of real estate to focus on education, focus on getting financing and building good relationships for the future. And so as soon as the market does ease up a little bit, we're all able to engage again and be able to either sell assets at a better price, buy assets at a better price, get financing, do all the things that are a little easier in a bull market. I do see that as the value that and the opportunity that we have right now is it's a good time to kind of focus on what are we going to do to shore up our foundation and get ourselves prepared for that next bull run. So
Okay.
To answer your question, my hope is that it eases up in the next 12 months. Our plan here internally is to prepare ourselves to take advantage of it as it does ease up. So,
okay.
I think it's an exciting time.
I do know that you have a great culture in your organization and you've got some really good people. What has been your secret to attracting, good people at all levels in the organization?
Yeah, good question. That's actually one of the things that I love doing. I love the management aspects of people and helping build culture wherever I've been at or here currently. I think that the biggest value that we have as decision makers is the ability to be the type of supervisors, the type of bosses that we would want to have. And so a big thing for me is I like being treated like a professional. I like being able to make decisions, but I also know that I'm, very fallible. I don't know everything. And so what I try to do with my team is I try to create an environment where questions are encouraged, and I want them to let me know when there's holes in their education, and we can help fill it, and we can help build systems to shore that up. But I really like having people who kind of want a little bit of leeway in managing assets. And so that's what I look for. As I look for people who are very engaged and want to build communities and kind of want people to get out of their way. And I feel like it's easy to attract those type of people as long as your pay is on the higher end. I do feel like those are the highest quality type of people in our industry, and they know what they're worth, and they deserve it, right? I do feel that it's the easiest and best investment that you can make for your property is paying a little bit more for a good property manager, because let's say it's $10,000 more, the value that a good property manager will save and then add to the overall value of the asset is, so much more than $10,000. It's hundreds, if not millions of dollars worth of value that a good property manager can do.
Incremental difference in pay
Yeah.
often produces exponential results.
Absolutely.
So got to wind this up. We always like to end with, what's a book you'd recommend to somebody to read? What's something that good, generally nonfiction, but if it's fiction, that's fine too.
Sure. Yeah. One thing that I've been reading a lot over this last year, as I started out at Lift Residential, is the book Start With Why. Start With Why.
By Simon Sinek.
Yeah, exactly. It's such a good book to help you understand, why are you doing stuff? And it's helped me be kind of refocus and be a more purposeful, not only manager, but human in general, which I've really appreciated. So I'd highly recommend that one.
Super. And then one last thing is, describe for somebody else how, you've done it throughout, and thank you very much, but how your relationship with Ascent has helped your organization. Yeah,
no, it's a great question, and one that I'm willing to tell anybody, because it's been great so far. My like I was saying, my strength is the management of the people. It's not accounting. To me, in every organization I've worked for, it's always been where I've struggled, and it's because it's very methodical and numbered. To me, it's just like this magic that accountants do, and I don't understand it, but they make the books look good, and it's great. And so as I was starting out Lift Residential, it was a daunting idea that you would have to build out an accounting team, because even hiring an accountant as a team member and then having to train them, I don't know what to train them on. And so when I reached out to you guys and kind of engaged in conversation, it was like a breath of, it was a relief. It was a burden off my shoulders of, oh, I can just rely on them to handle it. And your team members have been so great so far. They've been very patient with us and very, very helpful. We're at our Park City deal. We're now in full operations with Mary Beth, and she's really, really great. I really appreciate her, and she's not missing any bills. She's making sure everything really looks good on the back end, and our financials are looking great. And I attribute that not to myself at all. If it was up to me, it'd be much worse. But to working with you guys, I've really appreciated it so far.
It's a team
Absolutely.
effort. Right? So, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our listeners for taking time to follow the podcast and like it if you can. Thank you again, Alex, for joining us, and to all of you, have success and excellence in all you do. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you to Ascent Multifamily Accounting for making this podcast possible. Ascent has a team of multifamily accounting experts that provide outsourced bookkeeping for multifamily management companies. To learn more about Ascent Multifamily Accounting, go to multifamilyaccounting.com. We hope you have enjoyed listening to the Multifamily Excellence podcast. If you want to hear more from multifamily experts like this, you can find our podcast on Apple Podcasts and YouTube. We appreciate your support and can't wait to have you join us again for our next episode. Until then, take care.